I'm going to read the poem from the magazine and then just first two short sections from my memoir, which is called Halfway. It just came out a few weeks ago. The poem that's included is The First Time. The first time my son sees his father go under the water in the bathtub, he is terrified at the disappearance, at the sudden blur, beige and brown, gliding just below the surface. He screams in full force, his lungs a set of whistles, signaling warning, danger, fear, not understanding the transition, only that his father is now gone, erased, and he is left with only a reflection, a cloudy aging of his own face, 30 long years from now. Thank you. And this is the memoir, Halfway, A Journal Through Pregnancy. It's not just about pregnancy. I want to say that first because a lot of people see it and think it's a what to expect when you're expecting type book, and it's the farthest thing from it. It's really a book about transition. The year I went through my first pregnancy, and my son's going to be 10, so it's been a decade now. It was a very long gestation of the book. I went through a miscarriage and then a full pregnancy, and there were two other close family members who were also going through physical transition. A sibling of mine was living in a halfway house going through, not being addicted but not being clean. And then another relative was in hospice care, living between living and death. And so the book tries to articulate when you're living in that limbo land. And so even though, not everyone has been pregnant or experienced those exact, experiences, I tried to articulate through journaling and poetry and fiction that kind of intertwines over a year what it's like to experience that transition. So I'm just going to read the first two sections. And this begins with August. It will be okay. I will take care of you, I whispered to the clot baby, as I draped my 10-year-old arms around its slick torso and rested my chin in the well of its neck. I knew that the rest of the world would not stay by its side, frightened by its body's tangle of soft bone and wet tissue. I was the only one who understood its featureless face, the long sinew in the place of a nose, an empty socket gaping where a mouth should be. I was a gentle nurse, swabbing the drips from its forehead and wrapping its legs with white towels that were immediately stained bright red with blood. I wanted us to grow up together, to kneel for nighttime prayers beside our twin mattress, zippered up tight inside a thick waterproof plastic cover. That was my reoccurring dream, the year after my mother told me about her miscarriage, the pregnancy she had before mine, the one that ended up in a fist of tight clots in the toilet when she was already 3 months along. Could you tell if it was a girl or a boy? I asked my mother after she described her ordeal. No, it was too young to be a real baby, she replied. So it was a pretend baby? I asked, unsure about the whole pregnancy timeline and where pretend became real in the equation. No, honey, it wasn't pretend, but it wasn't real either. There was something wrong with it, and it wouldn't have ever become a normal baby. What was wrong with it, I wondered. She paused, thinking about the next step in her explanation. I don't know, but I do know that if I had given birth to that baby, I never would have had you. I remember thinking it wasn't fair, my pushing that baby out of the way without any consideration so that I could tumble out into the world and land in my mother's arms. That same year, our teacher asked us to imagine what we would be doing in 2 decades. It would be the year of the millennium, and we would have to write the awkward date 2000 in the top right-hand corner of our papers. "I will be a teacher," I wrote in cursive on the dry yellow paper with the dotted blue lines, "with 4 cats and twin girls named Lucy and Nancy." I was already on book 22 of the Nancy Drew series. However, I could not imagine I would ever really be that old. That was how old my mother was, with her perm of salt and pepper curls, her calloused feet, and her chicken skin arms. 30 was another life that I could not comprehend, one with checkbooks and ironing boards and oven temperatures that had their own systematic logic. That life was way down the road. All I could imagine was a pavement that ran past slick skyscrapers and dark forests, and a trolley that would drop me off somewhere in between them. She did not tell us time would quicken each year as we approached that rounded number. She left out the fact that we were already the same people we would be at 30, only smaller and without as much grief. She did not let on that aging was like being continually pulled apart at the joints, yet with never enough time or energy to heal. She smiled as she collected our papers, then read them to herself and cried while we were out at recess, her own list buried in the back of her memory box at home, her predictions of mother and ballerina still unfulfilled. Thank you.